talk about pulling a neck. If you get into building, if you get into repair work, you're going to have to learn how to pull a guitar neck and reset it. Now this video is not about resetting. We have a couple videos out there in setting the neck, so we're going to just call setting a neck, setting a neck. But in order to pull a neck, you need a couple of simple tools. Soldering gun, a nipper which I have actually kind of ground down so it's kind of chisel pointed, and a way to heat this part of the guitar. Now this guitar is actually going to be converted. Has some other issues, although it looks pretty good. There are actually some issues with it, and I have to take the top off. So since we're taking the top off, it will be converted. So at the end of that discussion, how do I pull a neck? First thing you have to do, and this is a Martin, Gibson's, most of the big manufacturers work with the dovetail joint, and even those that don't, if it's a glue joint, will have a pocket in the neck block where we can inject a steam needle to soften the glue. But in order to get there, we have to pull the fret. Now, in most cases, a soldering gun and this little nipper will pull this fret. The longer you are in the repair business, sooner or later you're going to have the joy of having an unknown guitar. And you're going to find a neck joint that doesn't want to work this way. You'll pull the neck, this fret, you're going to drill a hole, you're going to inject steam, and that neck doesn't want to come off. I had a Lowell from 1880 that gave me that problem. Now in the old days, Martin, they would actually cut the fretboard right here at the body joint, lift this off, and inject steam. Problem with that is you lose the structural integrity of the fingerboard. What I like to do if I have an unknown neck is I'm going to come up here to somewhere around the 10th, 2 or 3 frets above the neck joint, and I'm going to cut it there and lift it. That way when I put the fingerboard extension back on, I have some integrity. Alright, what I'm doing here is I'm applying heat with this soldering gun. I'm going to get right here to the corner of my fret, and I'm just going to work this in under the fret, because I can tell it's getting hot. The glue's starting to loose, because these were actually glued in, but it's also letting the wood get. Now, what I'm doing is I'm putting a little bit of water here. I know the fret's getting hot, and what this helps to do is kind of actually soften the wood a little bit, so as I pull this fret up, the barb has a better chance of not lifting the grain of the fingerboard, so I can eliminate a little bit of repair work for myself if I can. It's hot. Now, one thing that you want to kind of be aware of when you go to actually pull this off is we want to be careful that the heat doesn't harm, there we go, doesn't harm the top finish. Now, as the fret gets hot and I can work this under there, I'm like grabbing hold of the barb and I'm just gently working it. I'm not grabbing it and ripping it. I want the heat to get that fret to release. Now, once that's released, I have in fact I have no damage of that fretboard at all. The water really does help in solving that problem of possible damage. I better get near the... Okay. The water really helps to soften the wood and lower any chance of damage to the fingerboard. Now that I've got the fret out of there, I can drill. The fret has been removed. I'm now going to drill 2 holes. I know a lot of guys drill 1. I like to drill 2. I want to give the steam a chance to get out rather than into the body of the guitar. Now, I'm going to start right in here into my fret slot. You saw the drill drop. That means I hit the pocket. What I've just done is here you can see where the holes are. I've just drilled through the fingerboard, come out down here. Now I can inject steam into this pocket. Now I do have steam generating over here. I'm not ready for the steam yet. The next part is I'm going to put a heat source on top of this guitar so that I can get the fingerboard extension heated up to soften the glue. Now these little heat blankets will get, well, they can get 400 degrees if I let them go. I have a leather mitt. It's getting warm. And if this was a guitar that I was worried about saving the top, I would guard this whole area. But I'm really not. I'm more worried about saving the neck itself than I am the top. Now you can also inject steam, start pumping the steam in, and that can help loosen up the fingerboard extension. Now while that's getting warm, let me explain to you what I like to use. I have a number of little spatulas, if you want to call them that. This one here is a big artist. I bought this in an art store, like a palette, I think you call it a palette knife. This is a Red Devil. It's a flexible putty knife. And my favorite tools of choice, I can't talk about that enough, are these icing knives from Pampered Chef. They have a nice plastic handle, fit my hand very well. But what I also like about them, I don't think the camera really picks it up, is that these are tapered. This is not tapered. This is just thin. This is tapered. And when I get in underneath here, it will want to spread the fingerboard up rather than relying the front of it to basically cut the glue. So they work, I think it works a little bit better than the standard flexible knife. They all work. The key here is to be patient and allow the heat to penetrate the wood. It takes maybe 2-3 minutes, and then I will check at a corner just to see if it's starting to let loose. I'm also getting this hot, which will help to cut through the glue. Sometimes you want to be a little bit careful, and I'll have 2 of these going, and I'll start with the little one, and I can use this. This is heating up my knife, and I'm holding it in position at the same time. And as this starts to go, all of a sudden, you can get in there. And you want to be careful. You want to be forceful, but you don't want to be overly forceful. And with that being round, you can see if you push too hard, it shoots. Now I actually have a corner starting to lift. So we're going to give this a little bit of time, maybe 30 seconds. And then at that point, I'll be able to start getting in here and work through the glue. You might hear it start to squeak. That's not a bad sign. I suspect, I'm not sure what year this is, Martin stopped using hot hide glue in the mid-60s. However, they still use some hot hide glue when they moved from the old factory at North Street to Sycamore Street. There were some tops that were hot hide glued. They naturally didn't throw them away. And I think, I'm not sure, I think on some of the next sets, but they just didn't transition straight to the cold glue. Now we're getting things rolling. Not quite. You can use a heat lamp. You can use these little silicone blankets like I have here. Yes, you can find them at bluescreekguitars.com. I mean, I am a commercial site, and I appreciate your support. Also, we have the Kit Guitar Forum. I hope you stop in and visit us there. We have a couple of main builders that pop in there from time to time. And you just got to be careful. I mean, it's just patience. Let it get in there. Let the heat do the job. I have my water's boiling over here. People use little cappuccino machines. What you use to generate the steam isn't all that important. There's a couple ways of actually doing this. Sometimes I'll just blow steam in there for a couple of minutes, pull it out, let it kind of work a little bit because I don't want to inject more water into the neck joint than I have to. I would also tell you that you want a sharp chisel handy so that as soon as the neck comes out you can scrape the old glue off. Since I'm replacing the neck also, it's not a big concern to me. Right now I just want to show how easy it is to pop a neck. There we go. See it going in? Now I have one in here, I can push another one on top. What this helps me do is to separate the fingerboard extension so that I don't cut into the top. I definitely don't want to cut into the spruce if I can help it. But you can see that glue is just all soft. I can now separate that and I'm up to the neck block. Okay? Now I'm going to push that in there. It's only because I don't want the glue to reattach itself. So while I'm doing, just hang my heating pad up, get this out of the way. You can see I have steam going. Now what you want to be aware of, this is hot, so be prepared for the heat. Now it's going to start squirting water, obviously. And you might be able to start hearing it hissing. This is starting to warm up. I can feel the water's nice and hot. I don't know if you can see the steam coming up out of there or not. Actually, the hole that I drilled was a 1/16 of an inch. And as the steam starts working that wood, it'll actually soften it some. Now there's a product called No Blush. The steaming process may blush the lacquer. That is not uncommon. It'll happen. Not always. No Blush, you spray it on there. It's just letting the water out. That's what the blushing is. Alright, now this is starting to get heat in there. Now I was a little conservative on that drill hole. I need to go a little heavier. There, now you can see my needle's going all the way down in. We're going to let that hit just for a little bit. And I'm going to take a look at my joint. Now I can see it trying to leak out here. You may be able to catch it on the close range here, but you can see the steam coming out down here. Now what I'm going to do, I'll shoot in one side, and I'm going to shoot to the other. Now you may damage a fingerboard a little bit between the drilling process and this. I'm actually hitting something, so there's probably a big lump of glue in my neck block. And I'm just going to let the steam do its job. In here. And if you have any damage on the ebony especially, that's an easy fix. And you can see the water coming up. I have some paper towels handy here. The steam looks like it does damage the finish, but it really doesn't. That's getting a lot of crud and dirt off of there. The blushing actually comes out pretty easy. Sometimes it's not blushing, sometimes it's glue residue forming on the top of the finish, and that I'll find out in a day or so. I can always buff that out. But since the top's coming off, I'm not going to lose a lot of sleep over that. I know some people like the StewMac neck jig for this, the pulling jig. This is just the way I learned it. Dave Musselwhite out at Martin taught me this trick, and this is the way I do it. I don't see any problem with that neck jig. In fact, I do have it. I use it in some other necks. Okay, I can see. You might be able to see where it's just starting to let loose up here at the upper part of the heel. And the key is patience. Don't rush it. You don't want to be too slow, because the problems that you can have by over steaming the neck is you can loosen the neck block and you can loosen the top off of the neck block, which can cause problems down the road. We've all seen some old guitars at some point where it had cracks and the fingerboard was actually pushing the rosette in. Sometimes the top cracks aren't from the lateral force down, but from inconsistent shrinkage between the top and the fretboard. This is not hot high glue, I can tell you that. And I try to keep as much of the water wiped up as I can, even though, as I said, I'm not saving this top. I just don't want water all over everything. Especially me, because it's hot. Okay. Now every time I get this to wiggle, I'm letting water get into an area to attack the glue a little bit more. This side is much looser than the other. Makes sense since the needle's been over there longer. But I'm seeing the water come through. Now you can see it went down on the other side. So it won't be long. This black pad that I have here is actually material that they use to make wetsuits. So you can actually find it. It's not that terribly expensive, and it's a lot cheaper than some of the other places that sell you the same product and put a name logo on it. Okay, now this neck is really getting loose now, and I don't get too crazy with it. I don't want to force it. I can break the heel, which I don't want to do. And the more I can manipulate that joint, and the more I can let the steam work its way through it, the better off I am. All right. This neck is just about ready. Now when I'm ready to pull the neck, the needle comes out and I put it somewhere where it can't get me. Now, can you see the neck coming off? You can see the neck wiggling. And that's how a neck comes out of a guitar. You can see no damage to the top, no damage to me. This neck was in fact at one point reset. Here's a prime example, and let me show you. Square tube. Now here's weird. This is something I've never seen before, but the ebony actually swelled up. That's actually separated. That means there might very well, and there is. Can you see somebody put a shim underneath here? This fingerboard has a shim on it. Can you see that? No big deal. Now if this was just going to be a typical reset, we'd let this dry a day or two, reset the neck, re-glue, and we'd be gone from there. So I hope that this showed you something. The glue is actually pretty clean in there. Whoever did this neck reset in the past did a very good job, and I just want to say thank you for your support. See you next time. Catch us on YouTube, as you know. Bye bye, from my shop to yours.